In 3 separate strikes, Israel again showed what it can do at will to Gaza's skyline. The al-Sharuk Tower contained shops, offices and homes, and on its top floor, the Hamas-affiliated Al-Aqsa TV. Occupants had been told by Israel to leave. Seconds after the attack began, the building's silhouette replaced by smoke and dust. Across Gaza, a cloud of grief is spreading, taking hold of families, infecting a new generation. As the deaths mount, so does the feeling that this is just the beginning.
My daughter-in-law and my grandson died, and my granddaughter is missing without any trace. The Jews target women and children. My son's wife was 5 months pregnant. This is terrorism.
Less than an hour after the al-Sharuk building was brought down, another rocket barrage began. Again, Israel's Iron Dome interceptors trying to deal with a huge number of targets. Hamas said it fired 130 rockets. Several got through to the town of Sderot, a 6-year-old boy killed in one direct hit on a building. Others exploding in the coastal town of Ashkelon. Earlier, Israel killed 6 senior Hamas commanders, close to the head of the military wing and involved in intelligence and rocket production.
A short while ago, we eliminated top commanders of the Hamas General Staff, including the Gaza City Brigade commander and other commanders. And this is just the beginning. We'll hit them like they've never dreamed possible.
But there is another growing crisis for Benjamin Netanyahu and his government away from this accelerating military escalation in and around Gaza. Across Israel, from town to town, there is an eruption of communal violence between Jews and Arabs, despite Netanyahu's own pledge to bring it to an end with an iron fist. On Tuesday night, Jewish cars and a synagogue were torched. On Wednesday, it was a mosque that burned. Elsewhere, Arab businesses were ransacked. Jewish crowds chanted death to Arabs. Communities used to living close to each other, doing business with each other, riven by violence and hatred. Israel facing a social and security crisis on its streets as it wages an escalating conflict with Gaza's fighting factions. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, Southern Israel.
Well, Rami Khoury is the Director of Global Engagement at the American University of Beirut. Joins me now via Skype from Boston in the US. Mr. Khoury, always good to have you on the programme. We've seen this huge surge, really, of intercommunal violence, which Harry mentioned in his report, between Jewish and Arab communities across parts of Israel that we would never have heard of before. How much of a game changer is this now?
I don't know if intercommunal violence is the best way to describe it. It's predominantly Israelis, private sector gangs, often protected by the police, attacking Palestinians, and then after a while the Palestinians start fighting back. So the pattern is that the Israeli government and the gangs of young men have been working for years and years to try to Judaize most of Palestine as much as they can. They can't Judaize it all because there's several million, there's about 5 million Palestinians living west of the Jordan River in the occupied territories and Israel proper. But the plan, the Israelis, the actions they've always used have been to slowly push out Palestinians, like Sheikh Jarrah, using legal means, like military actions that destroy homes and people, try to get people to flee, either out of fear or simply out of not being able to live normally anymore. And then the third one is to incite local fear and violence among small groups of people, maybe one family, maybe a neighborhood, and get the Palestinians to go out. The striking thing about this is that this has been the pattern since around 1920. This is not just last week or since 67 or since 48. This is how the Palestinian, Israeli, the Zionist, Arabist conflict started way back in the 1920s as small groups of Jews organized and planned after the Balfour Declaration in 1917, planned to create a Jewish homeland and a Jewish state, and to do that, they had to push out as many Palestinians as possible. This has been documented by Israeli scholars, international agencies, a lot of people. So this is the context in which we're seeing this violence. Now, the Palestinians fight back in any way they can, but they're way outnumbered and outgunned by the Israeli government and the private thugs. So this is what you end up with.
So Rami, in the here and now, then, how do you think the Israeli authorities are going to deal with these clashes between Arabs and Israeli Jews, I say west of the Jordan River, in places like Haifa, Accra, Sanin and Lod?
These clashes very much serve the interests of the ruling right-wing majority, including Netanyahu, right now. And in fact, many of these groups that carry out these actions belong to parties that are among the right-wing militant coalition groups. So the Israeli government will make noises about protecting all its citizens, but they will just let the violence continue. And the government itself conducts much of the violence either through military actions or through the legal system. So I don't think you're going to see any short-term serious action by the Israeli government to rein in these gangs who go around beating up Arabs or killing them or breaking into their houses. They want to continue. This has been the tool of choice: violence, terrorizing, frightening, tormenting families and neighborhoods to gradually increase the Jewish population and decrease the Palestinian population. They'll stop it for a week or two, maybe with a talk in the White House, phone call, and then it'll resume. And it resumes by legal means and military means and political means and private violent means. So this is the real problem that the Palestinians face. They have this powerful Israeli state, supported at the beginning of this process a century ago by the United Kingdom and France a little bit, now supported by the United States. So there's no way that the Palestinians can fight back against this in any serious way. So the solution is a political resolution. That's the only solution, really, that we should aim for.
We should see what does happen. It's always good to get your insight. Rami Khoury, thanks so much for joining us from Boston. Thank you.
You bet.